Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me, and Paul, on another episode of Bible Belt. And, well, I am the host, Aaron Johnson. Yeah, that's good.
What is it?
Okay, so this is bamboo. I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce it. Bumbu.
Why don't you show him the bottle?
Okay, well, it's an empty bottle now.
I know.
But this is bamboo. It's bamboo rum. Apparently, people have told me it's not a rum, but it's just a liqueur because a rum is supposed to be 40%, and this is 30, 35, 33, I don't know, 35, 33%. Whatever. It's a rum. So, yeah, I came across this. I was getting some Captain Morgan, and I saw the cool bottle, and I was like, I want to get some of that. And I did, and I regretted getting Captain Morgan because it's trash compared to this. Sorry, not sorry. But, so, yeah, I've got a nice little glass of bamboo, as does Paul. Paul's got his little glass of bamboo. And so that is...
Except I got a single, not a double, like someone over there. Yeah.
It was almost empty.
I know.
So,
I know.
I mean,
Also, I specifically requested a single, so it's not like I'm like saying you're stingy or anything. But
close enough.
yes,
Just a little bit. So that is the drink of choice for today. What a great band. But so first episode, if you watched it, it's out there. It's been done. We kind of just talk about, well, Paul and I's testimony and kind of share with you just our brain. See, I haven't even taken a sip yet, and I can't even talk now. It's like we're trading roles because we couldn't. Yeah.
Except, what did you have to drink today during the podcast recording?
I had a stout, a chocolate stout,
And
another stout.
uh-huh.
One stout was bigger than the other, but I mean that was the course over the whole day. So I mean, it ain't too bad, right?
Yeah, 6 hours.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, our first episode was about kind of just our growing up and stuff like that, our background and becoming a Christian and stuff like that. So I shared my story, which turned out to be pretty darn long, I guess, and then Paul shared his in about half the time. So he's really cut to the chase and got it.
Well,
out.
also, I didn't want it to go on forever because we were already almost at an hour, and I was like, well, I can cut to the highlights. I don't have to go through all the... In 5th grade, I felt like I was... I didn't have to go through all that, so I was able to cut right to the highlights. So that's all right. Go on.
But yeah, and today, so I thought we would just kind of, I guess, focus on, because we talked about becoming a Christian and stuff like that, and what led to that, and then so today I kind of want to talk about what it might look like, what it looks like to be a kind of like a genuine Christian, and so Paul is probably going to be doing, hopefully, right, Paul, doing more talking on this one because, yeah, I'm leading it, but Paul's smart and he'll hopefully help me with this.
Remember, this is your baby. This is your thing.
This is my thing.
You ask the questions and I answer. That's how it goes.
True.
Whereas before on the normal podcast, I ask the questions typically and you answer. And then I'll add my 2 cents afterwards. This is where you get to ask, I answer, and then you add your 2 cents in afterwards.
Hot diggity dang.
No.
I don't know how I feel about that. So, but here we go anyways. So
How you feel about that is irrelevant.
Yeah.
By the way, before we get into it,
Yeah.
you should probably taste your rum and tell us how does it taste.
Oh, dude. I mean, the bottle's gone, so you know it tastes amazing. And I've got... Okay, this makes me seem like an alcoholic, but there's another empty bottle up there. So...
Oh, and yeah, it's right in picture.
Oh, hey, cool, sick. You can see that. Oh, well, you can see it up there anyways. Oh my gosh, ow, my hand.
Well, no, so like, what are the flavors of this rum? Is it more on the spicy side? Is it more on the sweet side? Is it what?
I'd say it's more sweet to read. Well, I mean, this doesn't really tell you much about it. It just says an authentic Caribbean legend. Bamboo, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, is masterfully blended by hand from island rums and native spices chosen from across the West Indies. Based on 16th century native recipes, bamboo reveals its history and craftsmanship in every sip. It is very. I mean, I don't know if you.
Now, I'm not a rum person myself. Is rum more of a sipping alcohol drink, or is it more of a you take a shot of it and you're done type deal?
Yes. Correct. Yeah, I don't know. See, now this one, I could see being like a shot one, but I also like sipping on it because it just tastes really good.
Okay.
Like it's really, I get like a caramely kind of like just taste, and it is amazing. But there's this other Bamboo XO that I've got also. Just I saw it next to the other one. I had to get that one too. But
Of course you did.
see, now this one is 40% alcohol, so I guess this would be technically legitimate rum. I don't know. That one is more like taste, more kind of like a whiskey almost thing to me.
Okay.
So that's definitely more of a sipping one.
And
This
then-
one, I mean, mixer, sipping, and shot, whatever you want to do with it. You can do whatever you want with any of your alcohol. Don't
Okay.
leave it up to me. But yeah,
All right. So, anyways, I just wanted to. I was thinking. I was like, before we get into the conversation, you should at least talk about the alcohol that you're having,
dude,
what it is, what sort of flavors to expect. What sort is it? A sipping? Is it just a shot type thing? Is it in a mixer? That sort of thing.
it is a good mixer. That is for sure. And the thing,
I will say, it smells like I'm getting a lot of caramel.
yeah, it's caramely. I love it. It's more expensive than Captain, so it's also much better than Captain. Anywho, but yeah, so that's the alcohol. Great start.
It is called Bible Belt after all.
You right though. so to the Bible aspect of this,
We got the
episode.
belt portion covered.
Yeah, we got that part done. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about, I guess like what it looks like to have a genuine faith and stuff like that in Christ, and I guess not. Gosh, just because as from being a like non-believer or whatever, well, yeah, unsaved, whatever you want to call it, person to getting into the faith and like accepting Christ as your savior and stuff like that. I mean, there is stuff that happens, believe it or not. I don't know, maybe you haven't read the Bible, maybe you don't know. I don't know. So that's why we're talking about this. But I mean, it's one, I guess the big part is realizing that that for me and all of us, I mean, we're all sinners. And that's why Christ came down, is to, offer himself up as a, one-time holy sacrifice to, cover all sins, past, present, future, everything, which is the crazy part about it. Well, one crazy part about it. So that, no matter what we do, it's realizing that we're a sinner, confessing that, and just like admitting to Christ that he's like, we need your help, and we want you to be a part of our lives and save us from our sin and stuff like that. And that's when a change happens. And it's not like, I mean, for some, like I've heard, people have their own testimonies and stuff as well, where it's like, it's pretty crazy change. Like it's like, just like night and day difference. And some people, I mean, it's a bit of a slower kind of growth, I would say, in some aspects. I mean, there's always going to be growth happening regardless, and Paul can probably attest to that a little bit.
Very much so. And I say very much so, both for myself, my own personal experience, as well as Aaron, as I've seen him grow through I almost said through the ages, through the years. Through the ages makes it sound like
I'm ancient.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're ancient, that means
You're darn near dead.
oh, yeah, we're not even going to talk about how old I am.
So, when I guess for me, it's it's been it's been a slow but steady kind of journey kind of thing. Um, it's
Slow and steady wins the race.
yeah, it does. I say it makes me think of this movie Baby Steps with, oh goodness, why can't I think of his name now? Bill
Hey.
Murray. Bill Murray. Great movie. Um,
Never heard of it.
oh what? Oh okay. Well, it's a good movie. But it's like as time's gone on, like I guess I've just been slowly learning, and I guess that's one thing that I've noticed about like myself and stuff like that is when it comes to actually honestly, okay, so this isn't gonna be released on the day that we record this, whatever. But like so this morning at church, um the message the pastor was talking about, you know, like if we truly love God and love Jesus and stuff like that, we're gonna want to follow him and do his will and stuff like that and spend time with him. And I was just thinking, I was like, man, like that's still something I'm, I guess, working on. Because there's like a lot of times where it's like a lot of things like I want to do my way and just get to stuff here and now and not wait either for like for certain things I as we talked about in the past episode, but like pornography and stuff like that, like waiting until like sex for marriage and stuff like that. Believe it or not, I'm just a regular dude. Even yeah, that happens, or that desire can be there, but it's like for Christ tells us that we should, sex should be between a husband and wife after marriage. So it's like I don't want to follow that commandment at times, but it's like
And even that commandment, that thought is contentious in the world at large. You know, we're told a lot of times it doesn't matter. Go ahead and have sex. We're telling that when I say we're telling that to like fifth, sixth, seventh graders, and they're like, have sex, but use protection.
yeah, be safe about it.
And if you get pregnant, just take this pill to Plan B.
Yeah.
Or go see, whoever to get an abortion. It's like, and we're allowing that. But yes, I know what you're saying with all that. I just want to.
No, yeah. So I mean, and then there's like I guess you could say extremes or whatever, but it's like murder. It's like okay, we're told not to murder one another and stuff like that. But at times, there's times I really don't like people. Now, do I want to go to murder? No, but
We're even told in the New Testament that if you think hatred towards your brother, that is the same thing as murder.
Exactly.
And people go, well, that's my brother. I don't have a brother. When the Bible says brother or sister, they're not talking biologically related. Yeah. They're talking, a brother in Christ. They're talking your neighbor. They're talking all that. So you got to remember the Bible's kind of metaphorical at times.
Yeah, so you really got to do your studying. And that's another thing I've been getting into is really getting more into studying, just not opposed to just reading and be like, oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, sweet. Awesome. But it's actually digging into it, like learning the history of the time of that and like that area, that's nation and stuff like that. So there's a lot into it, which makes it all the more exciting and a lot more cool and a lot more like it just makes it more, gosh, what's the word? Wow, I lost it. But it makes it just all the more like, well, one, I guess real, but it just shows how important a lot of this stuff is and studying it is. But so for me, and again, it's once you accept Christ into your heart and stuff like that, he's before, like leading up to his death, he talks to the disciples, that the Holy, he's gonna send like the Spirit down to be with them and help them and live in them and stuff like that, as to help them out through their journey, because life gets hard. And so it's like we've got the Holy Spirit to help drive us on and stuff like that. And it's that's become really noticeable. And well, I guess for me, I hope so. Myself, at least as far as I can say, I feel like I've noticed it. I hope other people would say that maybe they've noticed stuff. I don't know. I don't know. But I've seen that with other people. It's like, when you see, for me, knowing some of my friends before they were saved and then seeing them come to faith, it's like, holy crap. I was like, yeah, I was like, you are a different person. Like, it's in a good way. So it's just like, I guess seeing stuff like that also too is just like, man, this is legit. So, I guess, yeah, just talking about being a genuine Christian, just see what it looks like. I mean, you could argue, I guess, I don't know, this argument of like who you've been raised by. And like my parents, I mean, I've been raised in a Christian home. I've had a very great family, thankfully. I've been blessed with that. I've been blessed with a mom and dad that love me. And I mean, they obviously love me because I still live at home with them right now. So they put up with a lot with me. As Paul can attest to that. So, I mean, but to a point, it's like to a point that's true, like, because you can be raised and be raised a certain way, and that's a big part of your life, obviously. But it's like there's just things that I know that are different because I am saved now and how I react to things. Now, there's still like that initial human, I guess you could say, natural reaction into me at times. Like when my car got stolen, I was pretty pissed off at first. I was not happy about it. But then, like, I remember talking talking to my sister, and I was like, you know what? The Bible wasn't joking around when it talks about, thieves will break in and steal and stuff like that, and moth will and rust will destroy. And I was like, it's not. It's a legit thing. But it's like, so at that point when I had that in mind, and it's like, I was like, this is just something on earth. Like, it's not worth that much. I mean, granted, it's worth so much on earth, but it's like, all in all, it's not a big deal. So, and like, even with the people that like, well, person, I don't know, whoever stole it, we don't know who did it. I don't care. It's like, at first, like, having just like this kind of like anger towards them, like, why the heck would you do this? Like, jerk move. It's just something I guess clicked in me. I was like, you know what? If I actually got the chance to like meet that person, and if they got caught and I got to meet them, it's like, I guess they're gonna get the punishment that they're gonna get if they get one. I guess me myself, at that point, I wasn't too concerned about like being like, oh, you're gonna pay for this, you jerk, whatever, for stealing my car. But it's like, I guess I just didn't want to have that happen actually anymore. It's just like, you know what? I'd rather want to almost get to know the person a little bit, which might be kind of weird. But it's like, because I don't know what this person's been through. I don't know what their livelihood is. I don't know what their bringing up is. Maybe they had a really terrible like childhood or growing up. And it's like, either they're doing this because, I don't know, it's a way to make money. I don't know. Whatever it may be. I don't care. But it's like, there's a reason they're doing it, probably. Well, there is a reason. But it's like, I don't care. I guess I'd just rather talk to them, get to know them. And I actually, I thought about getting a Bible for him if I ever got the chance to meet him, but I'd have to have a Bible ready for him or just talk to him. But I don't know. So it's stuff like that. And granted, that wasn't really a serious situation though either. So it's like, I don't know, something actually serious happened. Like, the one thing I was also glad about is, none of my family heard this like robbery happening. So had that happened, and maybe if my dad intervened, like something could have happened to him, I'd have been a lot more upset if something happened to my dad versus just my car getting stolen. So that was another way I looked at it too. So, but I mean, I don't know. There's just a lot of things. It's like I've noticed where it's like I'll have a human reaction, but then it's like I don't immediately react and act upon that initial feeling I get. It's like, wait a minute, like the good old fashioned WWJD, what would Jesus do?
Yeah, WWJD. That was late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, I was a wee little
I can't believe you actually remember that, because, yeah, that was, you were a wee little lad at that time.
I was, but it's like that comes to mind, and like and then you can look at things like scripturally, and like for stuff that I don't know about, it's like I should be going to the Bible, and that's somewhere where I still struggle too. Though is going to the Bible about stuff consistently whenever I have questions about anything, because it's like it does. I mean, it covers all the bases you need, in life and stuff like that. So it's definitely also a big discipline thing as well to be getting into that and taking it seriously. It's not just a walk in the park, as I would like to hope it would be. But
And a lot of people think it is a walk in the park. They think, "Oh, you're a Christian. You're on easy street. You just have to say a little prayer and that's it. You're good to go." And they don't realize there's a lot of implications there because if you're actually following through with it, what you're supposed to be doing, there's a lot going on. Like I'll bring it back to something that you said earlier. Like where your pastor was like, "You need to want that time."
yeah,
And this isn't meant as a derogative here, Mr. Johnson. I know you've had one girlfriend
yeah,
that you sometimes say yes as girlfriend and sometimes not. Depends on the day.
right.
But you've had one girlfriend. And during that time, while you were starting that dating, you wanted to spend time with her. Yes?
Yeah.
Because why did you want to spend time with her? Because you liked her, and that's how you got to know her better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what relationships are.
It's weird to think about this way, but think about it this way. In a way, you're dating God.
Right.
You can't get to know God. You can't get to know Jesus. You
Without
can't get to
spending time
know anything about him without spending time with him.
Mm-hmm.
And if you try to have a relationship without spending time with someone, it doesn't work because that relationship will be superficial. We talked in one of our episodes this month about accountability. You can't be accountable to someone you don't know. You can't be accountable to God if you don't know what God is expecting of you to be accountable for.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to the fact that it takes work, it takes time, it takes energy to have that relationship. And if you're not having that relationship time, well, it's going to be like, the girlfriend that you just ghost.
Doesn't work out too well.
Eventually you just stop seeing each other.
Yeah.
You don't see each other anymore. And then there's hurt feelings on both sides. Except I don't think God feels like he ever gets jilted. He might. It does say in the Old Testament that he's jealous for us. So maybe he does feel like a jilted girlfriend when we stop seeing him.
I mean, yeah. And to go back to that one passage where I was talking about, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. Honestly, I think I'll read this little section that we had in church. It's in the book of John, chapter 14. And this is talking about the Holy Spirit, where verse 15 of chapter 14. Wow. And I always thought this was interesting, but it's like, because like when we read the Bible, it'll have like little like sections broken up within a chapter that's got like little like a heading over it or whatever kind of. I guess. Well, obviously, like when the Bible was written, none of that was.
Yeah, there were no
It was
headings
just
or
one
anything
thing.
like
So
that.
it's crazy how they separated stuff like that. Anywho, but this one is talking about Jesus promises the Holy Spirit, and starting at 15 from chapter 14 of John, says, "If you love me, you will keep my commandments, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper, to be with you forever, even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it neither sees him nor knows him. You know him, for he dwells with you and will be in you. I will not leave you as orphans, I will come to you. Yet a little while and the world will see me no more, but you will see me, because I live. You will also live. In that day you will know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. Whoever has my commandments and keeps them, he it is who loves me, and he who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and manifest myself to him." And then that stops at verse 22 for now. But it's, I mean, he goes on and he says it again. If anyone loves me, he will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and going on throughout it. But it's just, that's what he was telling his disciples and stuff, and just the people at the time. So it's just like, to see that still happening today is wild and really cool and, well, promising.
And I think that hits upon another key aspect. So, your question was, what does it look like to be a believer? Part one is you're spending time with God, right? That's part one. Part two is not only you're spending time with God, but you're applying His word to your life, like you were just reading in there. That you'll follow the words.
Keep the commandments.
Keep the commandments. It's one thing to read directions. Slot A goes into slot B, which then you turn around and wedge into slot C. Okay, cool. Now I got my IKEA desk put together. But if you don't follow your directions on an IKEA desk, you'll end up with a pile of wood that has nails sticking out of it, and you'll be like, I have no idea what this is supposed to be.
This is useless.
And you'll end up with something that you spent, $30 on that doesn't serve a purpose because you refuse to open the directions and read them. Now, people complain IKEA doesn't give the best instructions, but the point stands.
Yeah.
You have to follow the directions and you have to follow the commandments in order for the things talked about in the Bible, in the commandments, to be true in your life.
Yeah.
So you got to spend time and you got to read and follow.
And it's like, there's this one phrase that this pastor has in this church called First Free Church in Onalaska, in La Crosse. And one of his things that he says that I love is, as people coming into the church, it's like you learn that you'll belong, believe, and behave throughout this journey. So it's like for the church and stuff like that, it's people, obviously, whether you're Christian or not, especially hopefully for the people that aren't Christians or aren't believers coming into a church, if they're curious, it's hopefully they get this sense of belonging with people. Because that's very important, because if you don't feel like you belong, then why do you want to be a part of it? Which, I understand. Like it breaks my heart to think that, there can be churches out there and there's situations where it's like someone genuinely curious about God and faith and stuff like that will go into a church, but then get treated wrong and be like, well, you talk about this God that's so great, but then yet your followers are just like, get away from me kind of thing. And it's just like, you don't want to be a part of that, which I wouldn't blame you. So it's like, we need to show love to one another and show that we all belong. Because at the end of the day, it's like me, Paul, and Josh, who used to be a part of this, and just, obviously outside of us three, anybody in the world, it's like we all have the same sin problem. We all have it. So it's like none of us are above one another. It's like you struggle with one, you're screwed. That's it.
Yeah.
And
As I say, and it's something I've kind of tried to drill into. I know your guys said, you and Josh specifically. Just because I'm older doesn't mean I got it all together. Doesn't mean I don't struggle with things. Doesn't mean I have all the answers. I have a little more experience. I know a little more things. I might have struggled with more things. But guess what? I'm just as faulty as the next human. And guess what? Just because I'm older doesn't mean I get to slack on spending time with God. Doesn't mean I get to slack on following His commandments. Doesn't mean I get to slack on any of that.
Yeah. And going into farther into that, as you grow closer to God and, in that faith and rely on Him and trust in Him with your whole self, when you follow the commandments, it's like, you'll see what's described as fruit growing and stuff like that in your life. And it's just like good things coming of your faith and stuff like that. And that will also, be very evident if you're following pretty much the commandments of God. And then that's not to say, there's going to be trials, there's going to be hard things, and not everybody's going to have the same life. So it's like, you can, you have people that follow, God and, throughout their life, and it's like they still have a really tough time. I mean, look at Paul. He had a really well. Granted, now look, not okay. Bible Paul, not this Paul. Bible Paul. Okay, so to give you a little history, so he was Saul at one point. This dude hated Christians. He wanted to kill the Christians. He did kill Christians. He hated them. And then he had an interaction with Jesus, and that flipped everything around. And well, he made him blind, didn't he?
Yep.
And it's kind of freaky to go blind out of nowhere. But yeah, so he then chose Paul, turned his life around, and now this man is just a man of God, serving and and following him. And it's like he had a very tough life. I mean, he was in prison, he was beaten for his faith, and it's like he did not have an easy life at all. But one of the cool things that he says is, to live is Christ, to die is gain, and like to have that mentality on it it's like has been a huge thing for me, because the thing, like, this life can suck, which I mean it's going to from time to time. There's gonna be good parts, there's gonna be crappy parts, whatever, but it's like to know that who's in, I guess you could say, in your back corner, who's behind you, who's got your back, kind of thing, and like knowing that Jesus is that one that's with you through everything. It's like the creator, God, and it's like kind of the one that saved you. It's like, I feel pretty good about that whole thing. So it's like, and to know that what you're being saved from is hell, and you'll be joining him and God in heaven once you die. It's like things can get crappy here, but I know where I'm going afterwards, and that's okay, because then that is for an eternity, which I hate thinking about. I hate thinking about eternity.
Why?
It hurts my I love like the idea of being in heaven for an eternity, but it's like just thinking of the word eternity, like that doesn't end. And it's like, so what am I gonna do for like the 2 billionth day of my, well, gosh, if we even have days, I don't know. Well, we have to, I don't know.
Well, so one thing I'll also add in, because you're asking what does the life of a believer look like, right? If you look in, it's in John. Okay. It talks about the fact that, because people always go, well, how do I know that this is from God? How do I know? You've heard that all the time, right? Well, as you spend time with God, as you learn his character,
reveal himself to you.
But in John, it talks about the sheep will know the voice of their shepherd. Mm-hmm. Essentially, what that's getting at is, and we actually have been going over this in church recently as well, and they showed a video today of a flock of sheep on the field, and a bunch of people went up and tried to call the sheep to them, and the sheep just ignored them.
Nah. Yeah.
But as soon as the shepherd, of those sheep went up and made a noise, a few of them looked up instantly and just looked over in his direction. After he called a few times, they all came right to him.
Yeah.
No questions asked. And so people go, well, how do I know this is from God? How do I? As you spend time with God, you will recognize what is of God, what is not of God. You will recognize his voice through whatever it may be. And it's not as simple, well, I think it's, no, this is where God's leading me type of deal. And that's part of the life of a believer as well, is being able to realize where they're at, where God is calling them to, and trusting and saying, all right, if this sucks, I don't want to go there, but you're calling me there, so I'm going to go.
Right.
Because part of the life is also part of the life of a believer is also trust in what God is doing in our lives.
Yeah, it was cool that you bring that up, because I went to a little study with a few friends, and one of the gals that was there, she was sharing like a story about Oh, gosh, I wish I could remember all the details. But so she would do like kind of like some missions work and stuff like that. And um, they were being selected of where they were going to be sent out to go do some more missions and stuff like that, and where to stay. And so there's this one place that everybody wanted to go to where it was nice. I guess it was like along a beach kind of thing. It was out of the country. It was in a nicer area, and like people are excited to go there and surf because I mean, one, it's a nice place.
Right,
Cool.
of course.
Now there was also one place that nobody really wanted to go to, and this friend of mine ended up getting selected to go serve there. And for her, like I guess for whatever reason, like it just like and she said this can't work out, like this won't happen, or well, not that. So I can't believe it happened. She's like, but it's just like she doesn't think that she can legitimately do this, and so now everyone's like cheering for her, like yeah, like great, woo. But then she's like oh like putting on the thing like yeah, let's go. But on the inside, it's like oh no. And she had a night where she was like out talking with God and stuff like that, and it was kind of cool. But she's like, it's like there's so many things like that would make this trip not happen or not at least go well. But she's like, you know what, God? She's like, if this is where you want me to go, that's it. I'll do it, kind of thing. And I guess like literally like after that, at some point after that. I don't know if it was coming like time to where she was actually going to start going, or if it was just like a day or two after that moment. I don't know how soon this is all supposed to happen, but she ended up getting very sick, fainted, and her like blood pressure was kind of out of whack, and she literally could not go. Like they would not let her fly to this place. But so it's just like having that. For her, it was she's being taught a lesson that no matter what, it's like. Okay, if you're willing and trust God and you're going to follow through with him, he's going to take care of you. And maybe he knew, like, yeah, maybe she literally just should not do this trip. But her heart was willing. She trusted him in doing that. And he was like, all right, I know that you trust me. You don't have to go to this kind of thing, So, there's you could go back in the Bible and look at was it the Jonah and the whale kind of thing where he was supposed to go to Nineveh and he's like, no, I could do so much better in other places and stuff like that. And he's like, well, nope, you're going to Nineveh. So
and he ended up going where he liked to or not.
He went to Nineveh. So yeah. So it's just like there's that's a crazy thing to think about. It's like if you trust God, He's gonna make things happen, whether you think it or not.
And I want to make it clear, I'm not saying this, and I don't think Aaron is saying this as this is a simple thing.
No.
This is
no.
This can be very difficult at times. It's not a simple thing to just say, "Hey, God, I'm going to just trust you," and hey, cool, we're going to do what you say. Because so what? My pride and my I want to do this gets in the way a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit that.
Yeah.
So we talked about spending time with God, knowing his voice, trusting him, getting to know him. What else should be present in a believer's life?
Shame.
Did you just say shame?
Shame. Yes.
Okay.
Because okay, so we have a fellow mutual
shame.
Okay. Hear me out. No, so a guy we know, so the lieutenant's dad.
Okay.
I remember him saying something that was like kind of like almost mind blowing to me at the time, being like a younger kid. This was when Access was going on, the Wednesday night like deeper study for youth group.
Yeah.
And he was saying, he's like, people say they feel guilty about doing something or whatever. It's like, you don't feel guilty. He's like, you're guilty or you're not. He's like, you feel shame about doing something that you did that was wrong, kind of thing. I was like, you know what? I think I agree with that. And I still believe that now. But I guess I get the whole you feel guilty. It's like, okay, you did something wrong. So guilt is what this feeling is. But I like to look at it more as like, okay, you're guilty or you're not. And if you did something, you're guilty. So boom. Okay.
So what you're saying is the next time that you text me of, hey, so I did this, be like, shame, shame.
Shame.
No,
Do it.
I'm not going to do it that way. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Feeling conviction for your sin.
I agree with that better.
Yes. That was the word I was looking for.
Because when you say shame,
it brings a different...
It brings a different connotation.
Yeah.
I get what he was going for, but I would say more the conviction part. Because conviction says, I need to change what I did because it was wrong and it offended someone. Yes. Shame means I need to feel bad about it and I need to go run and hide in a corner. It's like when I catch my dog chewing a shoe. They feel shame, so they go hide in the corner. They don't feel convicted about it where they stop necessarily chewing my shoe.
Yeah. That's so, yes. And then so after, so there's a conviction of sin and stuff like that. And that is a big thing too. It's like, whether it's, and okay, now you were going on like talking about like pride and stuff like that being in the way of you, following Christ more. For me, it's like even, it's easy to say, oh yeah, I trust you, God, like, Jesus take the wheel kind of thing. But it's like...
Okay, Carrie Underwood.
Yeah.
Jesus take the wheel. Or my favorite version is Cletus take the reel from Tim Hawkins. Tim Hawkins did a remix of it, Cletus take the reel.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one. Wow. So, but yeah, so anywho, no, it's like for me, it's being okay. So being in a band, there's 4 people. Now this is just speaking of the band. 4. So one of the other guys, oh gosh, 5, 3, 4. What? Paul's confused.
I'm trying to confuse him on numbers and trying to get him to say this is 4.
Yeah, I learned my math well. But so one of the other guys is a Christian, and we currently at the moment both go to the same church. And yeah. And so 2 of the other guys, I grew up going to like, a Christian school and stuff like that with one of the other friends, but so yeah, it's, I guess that desire and like love for Christ isn't there. So it's even like talking to them, like it's for me, it's being like, I guess could that be under the whole pride thing? I don't know, but like being just like fearful of bringing Christ into certain situations where it's like, if I bring him into this is gonna screw things up in our minds. Like in my mind, this is gonna mess things up.
I don't know if I would label that so much as pride.
No, I was wondering if it could be in there at all, but no, yeah.
I
wouldn't say
I would probably put that more at, I think of it this way. Let's say you're dating someone.
Uh-oh.
Right?
Yeah.
And you go to a party with them. And you refuse to introduce them to anyone because you're ashamed of associating with them.
Yeah.
And you don't want those other people to think differently of you because of who you associate with.
See, I don't like when he puts it that way. Because that just brings out a whole side of me that I probably don't like to see. But that's true though. I guess for me it's like,
and I want to stop you on that. We're all guilty of that. So so don't think that Aaron is a special sinner guilty of this. We're all guilty of this at times. So
yeah,
go on.
So, but it's like in some circumstances, it's like I'm not afraid to let that, like, people at my work, they know, and they poke. They poke jokes about it, but it's like we get along, whatever. But it's like,
that's a new phrase. Poke jokes.
Poke jokes at it. Yeah. At me, whatever. The whole thing. And it's like, I've brought up like the Bible and Christ and stuff in situations, and it just turns into like a big joke to them kind of thing. It's like, it makes me like, I don't know. It makes me feel a little like, in a sense, defeated, or just like, what's the point in this? Like, they're just going to make fun about it. Whatever. Like, ugh. So it makes me hesitant to do it in the future, but, it's there's so much into it, but that's the thing. It's not an easy road, which I wish it was, but it's not. And if it was an easy road, then everybody would do it, and there'd be no work into it. And then it's like, well, then, yeah,
And I think that's a big part of the whole concept of the Christian life. It's not easy.
no,
There's going to be difficulties. There's going to be challenges along the way. There's going to be things that go well, things that go bad. And then there's going to be things and days where you go, what the heck just happened?
oh yeah, oh absolutely. And you know what? There's been some really cool moments. Well, obviously cool moments in like my walk with Christ and stuff like that. Like I remember, like I've been nervous to like be one to like give strangers rides to places before, and like so I was with a friend at this like place fairly close to home, like 20 minutes from home, getting like some food, whatever. And this lady comes up to us. She's an older lady, and just started kind of talking to us and whatnot, and asking if we could give her a ride and stuff like that to some place and whatnot. And I always just kind of get a little like on edge about stuff like that because I mean, okay, yes, you want to be able to trust this lady, but at the same time, sometimes they'll send out someone that seems trusting to go get you messed up in other ways. So I get nervous, but I this time I was just like, yeah, sure, yeah. And the cool thing that ended up happening was we actually ended up, my friend and I ended up having a great conversation about God and stuff like that during the ride. And then at the end of it, we ended up all praying together, kind of thing, and it was really sweet. So it's like it's those fearful moments where it's like if you let Christ do what He does best, sweet things can and will happen. Like it's not like could it happen? I mean, there's times where it's like we might not see it. There's something might not happen that we expect to see, and then we feel like just like discouraged about it. But it's like keep holding on to it. Well, keep holding on, going forward and pressing on, and you'll see eventually like a much bigger picture that you didn't see in the first place. And it's those are also the really cool things to see happen as well throughout the Christian walk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's one big part of it is keeping an eye in the bigger picture because
Yeah.
we're always looking at the smaller picture. We're looking at our immediate surroundings. I'm looking around at this room, seeing all the technical equipment, and thinking about that necessary. I'm not necessarily thinking about the big picture. What sort of impact do these things have in the larger context of things? And sometimes we're so immediately caught up with the whole concept of, is this person going to hurt me? Is this person going to whatever? Instead of maybe this person needs to hear about God and I'm the one that's going to be delivering it to them.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, to make it clear, I am not saying have no regard for your personal safety.
Oh no. Yeah.
You still have to take care of your family, yourself, personal safety. I'm not saying intentionally go out there and seek out harm.
Right.
You got someone with a gun who's shooting at people. You don't jump in front of the gun and go, "Have you heard about Jesus today?"
Yeah.
You don't do
Let me
that.
talk to you.
But the person who's like, "Hey, do you have a few bucks?" Be like, even if you don't, see if there's some way you can help them.
Right.
Because we're always told as Christians to help those who are in need.
Mm-hmm.
And the media goes on and on and on and on and on about, oh, these Christians aren't doing this and that. They're looking at the big picture and they want everyone to be helped. The government can't help everyone, let's be honest. But we as individuals, we can help and be more impactful than everyone else. The word Christian literally means little Christ.
Yeah.
And if we claim to be Christians, we need to be out there doing what Christ would do. Bringing it back to that wonderful WWJD bracelet that was all the trend.
Yeah, man. That's, man, talking about what would Jesus do? If you want to hear about what Jesus did, you can read the beginning of the New Testament. The Gospels, the story of his life was Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Well, and then I think there's some in Acts too, right?
Well, no, Acts is pretty
much...
much...
no. Yeah, I'm sorry. Ignore that. But, so it's, I don't know, some of my favorite ones for, like, Jesus' lifetime, at the moment, there's still more I have to learn. But it's like, is the woman that like touched his robe and was healed as he was going through the crowd to help this was Sadducee's daughter or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, he just came from another like town, village, whatever, and had healed a sick man that was demon possessed in a graveyard. So it's just like I don't know. I guess I was talking with a friend once, and we were talking about how like Christ only cares about like the high and mighties, like the people of importance and impact. Like, no. So we were talking about that. I was like, so like, this woman that had grabbed his cloak or robe, whatever, just hoping to be healed, was healed. And it's funny. Well, not funny. It's cool, where he stops on the way to help this man's dying or dead daughter at the time. He's like, he wanted to find this woman who had gone to touch him.
He literally goes, "Who touched me?"
Yeah, literally, yeah. As Paul said it, he said it himself. And obviously, Jesus being who he is, he knew, but I believe that he wanted her to come on and be like, it was me, and make herself known to him. And eventually, that happens. And the thing that I love about the story is like this woman was sick and probably a little an outcast to society. Like they probably didn't want to have anything to do with this woman because she was sick.
Well, she was unclean, and in that time, if you were unclean, you were outside the gates. You were not allowed in with the common folk, essentially. So you were off in your segregated thing. You were unclean. There's whole things regarding the structure of Jewish culture regarding clean and unclean. It plays a big part of this, and that's why, especially like you read the Old Testament, they talk about this food is unclean, this food's unclean.
Yeah.
And then it's a big deal in the New Testament when God says, I didn't make any food unclean. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. So we can eat pork? Ooh.
It is delicious.
Your mom made us pork today.
She did, yeah. Pork carnitas. Woo! But yeah, and the thing I like about the story is, when he talks to her, he refers to her as his daughter. And I mean, that having just a huge, like, I guess, impact for me, because it's like, that's showing that he loves and cares for her. And at that point, I mean, he knew that she had faith in him, and she believed. So at that point, it's like, she's taken care of now. And before that, so for this man that was like possessed by the demons and stuff like that, the reason I like that story a lot is because so he casts this demon called Legion, which stands for many, or we are many, into like this, like, what would you call it? A flock of pigs, a herd of whatever of pigs.
Yeah.
And they go off, run off this cliff, die, and they're done. Now, this town that owned the pigs was pretty upset about that. Because I guess, I don't know, this is going off like the pastor's knowledge and stuff like that of the whole story. Was he saying like the pigs for them was like a financial thing for them. Like it was a big financial part of what they had. And like, so they were upset by that. And I guess for the part of that story was that he was kind of like getting into was, Christ would rather save this man and have, like the wealth or whatever, these possessions be taken away for the sake of saving one individual. And I guess just to show that, it's, even though this guy was, again, unclean, unwanted from society, set aside, he cared about him to save him from what he was going through, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, to hear stories like that about Christ, it's like, man. And I mean, okay, aside that, when he talks about dying on the cross, it's like he died for all, not just the high and mighty, or not just the poor and hurting. Is for everybody that's willing to accept him and accept that gift.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any more things you want to add into your thoughts about the life of a Christian? Because I have one more.
No, go ahead, send it.
So the one I have actually is, don't be so stuck up on the rules.
Yes.
The rules in the Old Testament, that was very much more, You broke the rules, you sinned. You had to do some sort of sacrifice. Now, I'm not, when I say don't get so hung up with the rules, I'm not saying go and sin however you want and whatever. I'm not saying that. So I want to make that very clear. There's a difference between rules and sin. When I think about that, I think about there was a blind man in the New Testament. He had his mat. Jesus, came up to Jesus and Jesus told him, go here, mix some water with the mud, put it on your eyes, and you'll see. Well, he did that on a Sabbath day. Yeah, exactly.
Supposed to do that on a Sabbath.
And he was the blind man was carrying his mat on a Sabbath day as well. And the leaders, they're like, well, why is he doing work on a Sabbath? And it's like, come on, you're more concerned about the law than about people.
Mm-hmm.
I also think about the lyrics from a song from the classic Crime.
Yeah.
Do you know which one I'm talking about?
No, not the top of my head.
I believe it's called Glass House.
Okay.
Do you know it now?
I know that song.
Yeah, but what does it talk about in there?
Oh, gosh, it's been so long. I don't know. I remember it. I don't know though.
So here's the chorus that gets me. Somewhere deep down, you know the difference between love and following orders. But if what I sing is offensive, it's proof that you've yet to address your disorder. Sorry, they had a mistype on their website. And I was like, because they had, but if the I sing, I was like,
Tongue twister.
Yeah. So essentially what they're saying is if you're just following orders, if you're just saying what the leaders say, be it religious leaders or whatever, and you're just saying, oh, you say I'm not supposed to work on Sunday, I'm not working on Sunday, and that is your explanation for how this is going on, and that's what you do, and that's it, you're not noticing the difference between love and following orders. Love is caring for that person. Mm-hmm. Even though it's the Sabbath and it's the day you're not supposed to work, you still care for that person. You clothe them, you feed them, you help them however you can. Jesus said, screw the rules. It's a Sabbath. You're getting healed. Carry that mat.
Yes.
And guess what? That's a proclamation that you are healed now and you are different than you were before because you would not be healed on the Sabbath normally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I think about that, I think about, that our last thing of don't let rules hang you up so much that you forget to love others.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying go out and do something illegal, rob a bank to feed the poor. I'm not saying sin. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying, the stupid things like we must all bow at the same time, but while you're bowing, someone's not getting fed. Feed the person first, then go bow.
Right. Wow. Well, that was great. No, thank you. I would have missed that whole aspect of it. Look at me messing up like that. Yeah, because grace and mercy is a huge thing also. And brings me to a section in James. No, okay, let me find it here real quick. I think it was near the end of it, but basically, the last line being, mercy triumphs over judgment. Oh boy, I don't know where it's at. Oh, I think it's at the end of chapter 2? Question mark? Maybe not. I don't know. Oh, not the end of chapter 2. It says verse 13. Or I'll start at. Oh, where should I start at?
I'm pulling it up right now.
Should I start at verse 8?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So verse 8 of chapter 2 in James. If you really fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. You are doing well. But if you show partiality, you are committing sin and are convicted by the law as transgressors. For whoever keeps the whole law but fails in one point has become guilty of all of it. For he who said, "Do not commit adultery," also said, "Do not murder." If you do not commit adultery, but do murder, you have become a transgressor of the law. So speak and so act as those who are to be judged under the law of liberty. For judgment is without mercy to one who has shown no mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment. So that was actually, I heard that one today too. That we talked about that also in church on this Sunday. Well, this Sunday being the day we recorded this, not the day that
which is October 4th, 2020.
What he said. But I mean, the thing about also like Christ's sacrifice is he died for all sins, not just I don't know how to say this, but like the sins that you committed before you decided to believe and trust in him. He didn't just forgive those ones, he forgives all the ones after it and so on.
And he also didn't die just for a certain level of sin. He didn't die for the simple sins.
Nope.
I cheated on my test. He also died for the difficult sins. I lusted after another woman.
Nope. Murder.
Yep, that too.
Yeah. That's that's granted, that's my own, that's a whole other thing, but it's just like how we classify different like things like sin, well, murder versus robbery, like that'll have a different punishment here.
Right.
Well, like, to him it's like it's.
And when you look in the New Testament, it even says if you have hatred in your heart toward your brother, that's the same as murder.
Yeah.
And we don't think of and classify things like that. And so you're like, well, we classify murder up here, but you're like, but I can have hatred towards this person all day and it's down here. And then you go, oh, wait, it's the same thing. Oh, crap.
Yeah. Any sin is bad enough to get you separated from God because he is perfect and holy. And that's another whole thing to like think about, is knowing who God is and just how holy and pure and powerful he is. So I mean, I guess honestly with that, I got nothing else. I don't know if you have anything.
All right,
to pack it up, but thank you again for hopefully if you sat through this. I don't know, maybe you didn't, maybe you're like, I'm sick of this. I don't know.
Did you finish your run, by the way?
Oh,
okay, good. I did too as well. I just want to make sure that you did.
Oh, I did.
Cool.
So yeah, thank you for hopefully joining on a second episode of this Bible Belt. And if there's any any comments you have, please feel free to leave a comment. Any suggestions, thoughts on anything of this, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.